everybody, my name is Lynn and welcome to my channel. It is January 6th on the second week of February and the second week of the year. And usually around this time is when gardeners such as myself have nothing to do. Scratch the itch on gardening. What we usually do is dream about the upcoming 2025 gardening season. We do that by daydreaming, but we also do that by gathering inspirations, either from watching videos, reading books, or talking to other gardeners. So for this video, I'm going to be showing you the top 5 books I read last year that you might be able to pick up in your local bookstore or Amazon if they're not available, just to help you pass the time until the next gardening season. I do read a lot, not just gardening books, but I think since this is a gardening channel, I thought I'd show you the ones that I've enjoyed that's related to either gardening, flowers, or plants in general, or maybe a little bit of in between those 3 categories. So these are the books that I enjoyed last year that are related to plants, gardening, and flowers, all 3 combined. So let's get started. It's hard enough to choose which of the 5 books I want to feature here, so I'm not going to rank them. So in no particular order, we'll start with Zoe Schlanger, Light Eaters. I did not know about this book until I went to visit our local bookstore, and it was just right on the front shelf beside the cash registers. That's how they get you. And flip through it while I'm waiting to be cashed in, and I found it interesting. It says the front here, how unseen plant intelligence offer new understandings of life on Earth. If scientific writing and literary writing had a baby, I think this would be its offspring. I do enjoy the lyrical writing of Zoe Schlanger and how she tells the stories of the topics that she's found throughout her research. What got me interested when I picked up this book is this part. The Light Eaters is a deep immersion into the drama of green life and the complexity of this wild world that challenges our very understanding of agency, consciousness, and intelligence. And looking closely, we can see that plants, rather than imitate human intelligence, have formed a parallel system. What is intelligent life is not a vine that grows leaves to mimic the shrub on which it climbs, a flower that shapes its blooms to fit exactly the beak of its pollinator, pea seedling that can hear water flowing and makes its way toward it. Zoe Schlanger takes us across the globe, digging into the soil with the scientists who have spent their waking days studying these amazing entities up close. Very fascinating read. I very much enjoyed the part where she described this plant in South America that mimics other plants, just so other animals that would prey on it, that would eat it, will avoid it. There's also a section where she analyzed the relationship between asters and goldenrod, solidago, and how them finding a habitat together allows them to be more successful evolutionary wise. Fascinating read. I highly recommend it. Next book, A Short History of Flowers by Adley Richmond. You watch Gardener's World, she is one of the presenters that specializes in history, or I guess plant history. It's a nice little coffee table book, and as you can see, and it is on our coffee table because I've got already spots of coffee. Not my fault. My husband likes to put things in places where you're not supposed to put coffee mugs on. But anyway, it's a nice book that fits nicely in your hand, and each article is organized by the different topics. Each article is related to one topic, and each topic is devoted to a certain plant, well, certain flower. You can flip through it and read something fascinating about a certain plant. For example, snapdragon. And it also has some nice illustrations of the flower itself. Apparently, because the dried seed heads of snapdragons resemble skulls, they have deeply rooted connection to necromancy. Apparently, they were considered. This is not. I'm just rewording it. But maybe I'll just read it. So, in lore, snapdragons were considered to have supernatural properties, possessing the power to protect a person against being poisoned, or reflecting any curses back to the perpetrator when the flowers were positioned in front of a mirror. At the height of the Renaissance, new powers were bestowed upon the humble snapdragons. If you ever found yourself short on charm, it was believed wearing the flower about your person could miraculously enhance your social standing, as the flowers were said to give you charisma. Well, there you go. So the way she writes, it's very like she's telling you a fairy tale, but it's not a fairy tale because it happened in the. I was going to say in the future. No, it happened in the past. A very engaging, very interesting way of telling history, which I wished my high school teachers did, because now I enjoy history, but back then I hated it. Anyway, all these flowers, like a bougainvillea, Indian shot, canna, they all have their stories that are very interesting to read, and might be useful when if you're lacking in small talk knowledge. You can just say, "Did you know that snapdragons can ward off spells?" You're lacking charm. You should use some snapdragons. Very useful, I would say. Story is history. A short story, and a short history of flowers. I'll put it right there. Next is Designing with Dried Flowers by Hannah Rose Rivers Muller. I first heard about this book from a podcast. Well, a couple of podcasts, so don't remember which ones, but they were about flowers. Those are the kinds of podcasts I listen to. And I was intrigued. She is a farmer somewhere in California, and not only do they do fresh flowers, but they also grow flowers for the purpose of drying. I don't normally do crafts, but since I've been growing straw flowers and saw how pretty they look in their dried form, I thought maybe it would be a benefit for me if I learn more about what kinds of flowers I can dry. So, so straw flowers don't look lonely in a dried flower arrangement. But what I liked about this book is the imagery. And see, those nice double page covers there. Very pretty. Very good photography. I appreciate good photography. Aside from photography, what I like about the way she structured her book is that every season she lists what kinds of flowers they grow for the purpose of drying later on. So if you don't have any idea what those are, these are the resource for you. So that's the first half. So you see there's summer. You can see that. And then see lots of pictures. And then there's the summer flower guide. And it lists the kinds of flowers that are available, that the bloom in the summer that you can dry, and when you should be, what stage you should be harvesting them, so that you can get the best quality dry flowers you can get. So that's the first half of it, but then the second half are different ways you can use those dried flowers that you've collected. There's one for petite gift bouquets, and it's very instructional too, like step by step, like a recipe. For a floral frog arrangement. And yeah, and mixed bouquets. Very good. Very, very good book to have. And I know it's trendy to have the dark, moody set of photographs, but I like it bright and warm. Very great book. I enjoyed it so much. I'm glad I found it. Hannah Rose Rivers Muller, Designing with Dried Flowers. Next book, Grounded in the Garden by T.J. Maher. T.J. Maher is an artist, and as an artist, he uses his knowledge of color in creating a very interesting naturalistic garden. It says, an artist's guide to creating a beautiful garden in harmony with nature. Aside from looking at the plants that he chooses, and that gives you inspiration on what kind of plants you might want in your garden and combine with the plants that you already have in your garden, I think this one excels on showing you or explaining how you can mix your colors so that it looks cohesive in the garden. One thing that I learned from this book is to not combine, or I mean, you can combine primaries, but make sure that they're not very close to each other. So if you put red and yellow together, it's very contrasty. If that's what you want, that's the kind of look you're going for, go for it. But if you want something that's more harmonious, you should put red and yellow apart from each other. And in the middle, you could use some orange peachy colors so that there's a little bit of a gradient in the landscape. Does that make sense? Its writing style is very accessible, meaning there's not a lot of flowery words, which I appreciate. Lots of tips too about certain specific plants. So, Grounded in the Garden. I think I saw this from Danielle at North Lawn Flower Farm video. She highly recommended it. That's why I picked it up, and I wasn't disappointed. So here you go. Grounded in the Garden by T.J. Maher. Last but not least, Flower Love by Kristen Griffith. We should have Googled that last name. Vanderjaagt. Vanderjaagt. How do you pronounce that? Okay. Vanderjaagt. Kristen Griffith Vanderjaagt. Side title, Lush Floral Arrangements for the Heart and Home. Kristen is a florist in New York City. He had a show on Netflix, The Big Flower Fight. And he is kind of like, he's the host and one of the judges, I believe. Anyway, this book is a how-to on the different kinds of arrangements. He gives you an insight on how he thinks about colors, how he thinks about design, and pretty much just an inspiration, and pretty much an inspiration catalog. Just like designing with dry flowers, they give you a recipe on what makes up this arrangement here. So for example, this one has 4 stems of Celosia Bombay Fire, 4 stems of Celosia Supercrest, 12 stems of Dahlia a la Mode, and 12 stems of Celosia Selway Terracotta. Oh, yeah. And even if you don't have the exact specific types of celosia, you can see the texture, you can see how he uses those texture and how he combines the colors. And he also has a color palette placed for you right here. He writes like having to hear his voice through his writing. I like it when writers do that. So like step by step. He also gives you an explanation on why flowers, the way they are, in relation to the other flowers too. Just a nice book when you're, drinking your coffee in the morning, or if you're just looking for something to inspire you, something pretty to make you happy. Why not? So there you go. 5 books. Flower Love, Grounded in the Garden, Designing with Dried Flowers, Short History of Flowers, and The Light Eaters. These are the books that I read in 2025 that if you haven't picked up yet, I highly recommend. If you've reached it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. If you've read any of these books already, comment below what you think about it. Or if you have any books that I should be getting my hands on, that would be great too, because I do enjoy indulging on books that would allow me to indulge in more plants. I need more plants in my life. So I see you again. Bye for now.